Welcome back, boys and girls. And today I want to talk to you about how to shoot under 1-inch sub-moa at 100 yards, or in general, just how to shoot better. Now, as a plastic surgeon, the reason I was such a successful surgeon and was able to retire at an early age was that I acquired a set of skills that worked really well for me, and I repeated over and over again, and I naturally became very good. Now, in fact, I did over 10,000 surgeries. Now, I believe it is the same thing with shooting and hunting. Now, if you could acquire a set of skills that works really well for you and repeat it over and over again, you naturally become good at it. And shooting sub-moa at 100 yards shouldn't be a problem. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be a professional shooter or a hunter because I'm not. I don't have the skills or the trainings or the equipments for it. But I do want to share some pointers that I acquired throughout the years with the new shooters and new hunters, because I know there are guys out there who are way better than I am. So I just want to help the newcomers, sort of space. First step of shooting sub-moa at 100 yards is getting a rifle that could actually shoot sub-moa. In the past, shooting sub-moa was for the professionals who spent thousands of dollars on custom-made rifles, and they had the skills and the training. But with the new rifles, modern rifles, shooting sub-moa should not be a problem. And as you can see, I have some semi-automatic Browning, Remington, and this is also Browning. I even have a lever action, and that's Savage. And this is actually Browning that was made bolt action by Browning in 1960s. And I have some ARs that does sub-moa at any given date. And this Thompson Center compass only cost me $290 with a scope, vortex scope, and the rifle. And I did a review on that last year. And this is by Weatherby. Step number 2 is getting a decent scope on your rifles. Now, I usually buy a scope that's under $200 on sale, and ones that are MSRPs are like $350, but on sale I usually get it like, sometime I get really lucky and I will get under $150. But between $150 to $200. Now, on your right, this has borers, and this has loophole. That's got a Voltax, loophole, and that's a loophole, Nikon, loophole, Nikon, and Nikon. Now, the reason that I have mostly Nikons and loopholes and the borers is that they're a very good scope, but they do go on a sale once a year, and you could practically get it for about half of the price of MSRP. Rule number 3 is that you have to be comfortable shooting. So having a nice recoil pad definitely helps. Even though this rifle came with a very exceptional recoil pad, I like to use extra because this is in 7mm Remington Magnum. And more you're comfortable, better you will shoot. Now, you also need a good set of hearing protection. Now, I don't use this bulky type. You probably never saw me using it because when I'm hunting or when I'm target shooting, this bulky hearing protection will get in the way with some of my rifle stocks. So I would never wear this to hunting. So I would never practice with it on, but I actually use the small ones. Now, these are the foams. I'm sure you've seen it. Now, these are my favorite. These are actually made for swimming. And because these are watertight, it does a very good job of protecting your hearing. And some of my viewers ask me, hey, how come you don't have any hearing protections on? But these were the ones that I had it in my ears, so it's kind of hard to see. Rule number 4 is that you have to know your barrels. Now, most of the barrels have different twists and they have different vibration. So, especially on a thinner barrels like this one, even though they guarantee sub-moa, I was shooting about 2-inch group with a hunting ammunition. So I went ahead and installed a limb saver barrel stabilizer. It only cost me like $9. And after putting this on, I'm getting like less than a 1/2-inch group at 100. So I'm very happy with it. And they all shoot different ammunition as well. Like for example, like I have 3 different 6.5 Primos out here. With my leaf-free armory rifle, I could shoot 1/4-inch group with this, non-typical. And with my Thompson Center compass, I could shoot 1/4-inch with this Super Performance by Harmonic 6.5 Cremo. Now with Whitetail by Harmonic, I could shoot Sub-moa with both rifles, but this will not produce like a 1/4 inch. This will produce more like 3/4. Now, they all have different weights, and so you have to kind of find out which one works for you. And I only practice with hunting ammunitions because that's what I hunt with. And the main reason that I practice shooting is for the hunting. And next thing is that you do not want to damage the crown of your barrel. And the best way to damage it is by using a cleaning rod and cleaning it like this in and out. Now, I only use the cleaning snake, and I run it from the chamber, and it goes back out this way. And I run it like 5-6 times. And because this has so much cloth in there, running it once is like running 15-20 patches. So this works really well for me. And I heard a lot of professionals saying that with a modern barrels, you don't need to clean. Actually, cleaning it with a rod too thoroughly could cause damage to your crown, thus causing the problem with your accuracy. Rule number 5 is that always practice with the same scenario that you're gonna be using it in real life. Now, for me, I practice for hunting. So it's always the first shot in the cold morning. So the barrel has to be cold. So every time I go to the range, I would take 3 to 4 rifles and I would take turns. So I will give at least 5 to 6 minutes of a rest between every shot and make sure my barrel is cool to the touch. And that's when I take the next shot. So now I heard some of the military people, they practice with the barrel being very hot, because that's the real scenario for them. But for me, cold barrel is what really works for me. And I heard that when the barrel gets hot, the metal tends to expand and the bullet tends to shoot higher as hotter it gets. Rule number 6 is that when I shoot a really decent or exceptional 3-shot groups, that's when I stop and come home, even though it's my first 3-shot group. I see many guys at the range, they bring one rifle and they shoot it all day and the groups gets worse. Now, one thing that I hate is leaving the range with a doubt in my mind. So having a 3-shot groups like this and going home with it gives me the confidence when I'm hunting. Because having the little doubt in my mind could cost me a shot during the real hunting situation. Rule number 7, calm down. There are those days where I can't seem to shoot well no matter what I do, and usually that's when I'm overly excited. That's when I acknowledge myself that I am too excited, just calm myself down. I could go use a restroom or have a little snack or have a drink of water and refocus myself, and I seem to shoot better again. Oh, one more thing. Avoid very windy days. I mean, shooting a heavy caliber at 100 yards, the wind factor shouldn't be a big problem unless you have gusting winds. But shooting a smaller caliber will affect even at 100 yards. So you want to avoid the very windy days. It's beautiful, sunny and warm outside, so let's change and go outside and continue. To be perfectly safe, I have completely removed the bolt of the rifle, and you can see there's nothing in there. Now you want to have your eye perfectly aligned with the scope, so you will have the full view like this. Now if you move a little bit to the right or left, you see the little shadowings, and when you move, you will also notice that point of impact changes about 1/4 inch in different directions. So this will cause to have a problem with your accuracy. So whenever you shoot, make sure that you have a full circle view without any shadowing, and that way every time you pull the trigger, you know you're aiming at the same point of impact. Now I want to talk about the trigger. Having a light crisp trigger is always a bonus, but I'm not really into sensitive triggers. If the trigger is half decent, I have no problem shooting or hunting with it. And I also heard a lot of people say when you're pulling the trigger, you want to pull really slow and you keep pulling till it goes bang. Now that doesn't work for me, because anticipating a shot for me causes me to pull the shot. So when I know my rifle is dead center and I know my trigger is right at the break point, I just gently pull backwards, and that works for me. And another thing is that when you have your finger too deep into the trigger, that's gonna pull your shot to the right. And when you don't have your finger deep enough, like pulling a trigger with the tip of your finger, that's gonna cause to pull your shot to the left. And so what I like to do is that I like to have my trigger right in front of my last crease of my index finger. So I know I'm pulling straight backwards. I'm not pulling right to the left. I'm just pulling straight backwards, and that really helps a lot. So I like to have the same spot of my trigger every time I pull the trigger. And another thing is that I see a lot of people, they say heavier the buttstock tight against your shoulder. So a lot of people are embracing for the shot, pulling, grabbing their grip really tight and pulling it against their shoulder. And that causes muscle tension, and that causes vibration. And that could cause you to miss a shot, or it could actually cause bad grouping. So what I like to do is that once I know I have my buttstock snuggle on my shoulder, I just like to grab it gently and pull my trigger. And that works really well for me. When you're shooting, you do not want to disturb the harmonic of your barrel. Whenever you take a shot, when the bullet travels down the barrel, it will cause the vibration, and we call that a harmonic of the barrel. Now, if you're holding your barrel like this when you're shooting, now that's gonna cause a different vibration, causing you to miss or have a bad grip. Now, you only want to have your rifle rest on your stock, your forehand, not on the barrel. Now, I've seen some hunters, they put their barrel on like a tree branch or something. Now, you don't want that because that could actually disturb it. So you want to have it on your gun stock, not the barrel. Now I want to talk about tilting your rifle. Now, if you tilt your rifle to the right, it's going to cause your bullet to drop to your right. And if you tilt to the left, it's going to cause your bullet to drop to the left. Because no matter what position you are, the bullet's going to drop straight down. But your crosshair will move, and it will have a different point of impact than what you think. Now, I see this a lot during a hunting situation when you have deer coming behind you from your right or your left. I see a lot of hunters try to twist their body into an awkward position and try to take a shot. Now, when you're uncomfortable shooting, it's gonna cause your body to vibrate and your muscle to tense up, causing you to miss or having a bad shot and end up tracking a deer for hours. Now, what I do is that if I see a deer coming behind me to my right or to my left, even though it might cause for me to spook them, I would hide myself behind a tree and comfortably turn my whole body into the position where I could shoot comfortably. And you don't really have to rush a shot. And like I say, if you miss it, if you spook a deer and they bust you and run out, so let it be. But don't try to make a shot causing a bad shot. It's not good for the deer and it's not good for you. Most hunters, including myself, we like to practice shooting at 100 yards. But when we are actually hunting, I have deers popping up in 15 yards or 20 yards. And that's where the problem comes. Now, if you think of this as like a body of a deer, and when you're in an elevation position, in a very close up, and you're looking it down like this, so you could see how much narrower the body gets. And now, when you have your rifle sighted in at 100 yards, and when you shoot at 20 yards, you're gonna notice it's gonna shoot about 3 to 4 inches lower than at 100 yards. So if you have this bite or narrowing down, and plus that it's shooting like 3 or 4 inches lower, there's a good chance you'll miss the deer or just wound the deer and never find it. So you have to make sure you're actually aiming about 3 inches above point of impact when you're shooting deer close, like in 20 yards or 30 yards. After I acquired a certain set of skills that works really well for me, I could shoot Sub-moa with any rifles that I have. And many of them I could do like 1/4 inch Sub-moa at 100 yards, but definitely under 1 inch. I know I still have a lot to learn, but those are the tips and skills that I acquired during my years of shooting and hunting. Now, for those of you who are seasoned hunters, and I know there are a lot of you out there, if you have a good tip about how to shoot better for me, please let me know. And lastly, like always, thank God for what you have, enjoy your life with what you got, but mostly stay safe and shoot straight. See ya.